Hello dear students, welcome to the e-resources on making schools inclusive. In this particular module, we will be talking about curricular and pedagogical practices for making inclusion a reality. My name is Dr. Gitika Datta and I am principal of Bhavan's Leelavati Munshi College of Education, New Delhi, which is under IP University. Now, before we start off with the actual topic, let us try to determine what the learning outcomes of this particular module are. After going through this material, you will be able to elaborate upon the concept of inclusion and inclusive education, discuss the various forms of inclusive practices, discuss the various options which are available with the teacher to incorporate inclusive practices in their classes. Now, let us first of all try to understand or revise what the concept of inclusion, which I am very sure you must also have discussed in some other materials. Inclusion is where there is a recognition of a need to transform the cultures, policies and practices in school to accommodate the differing needs of individual students and an obligation to remove the barriers that impede that possibility. This definition is given by UNICEF in 2014. Now, inclusion as a concept is not just restricted to the field of education. It is a very generic concept, which is a very comprehensive kind of a concept which encompasses not only education but financial, social, economic aspects also. These days you must have heard about even our Prime Minister stressing on financial inclusion, stressing on social inclusion, stressing on economic inclusion and taking various measures in order to accomplish inclusion in different spheres. Now, let us try to see what inclusive education is. It is a process of addressing and responding to the diversity of needs of all learners through increasing participation in learning, cultures and communities and reducing exclusion from within and education. It involves changes and modifications in content, approaches, structures and strategies with a common vision which covers all children of the appropriate age range and a conviction that it is the responsibility of the state to educate all children. Now, this is a definition which is again given by UNICEF. It is a very comprehensive definition which covers almost all aspects of inclusion and inclusive education. Now, let us try to see what are the key aspects of an inclusive institution. There are four. One, it is community based. It reflects community as a whole and is open, positive and diverse, and there is lot of interaction happening between the school and the community. It is barrier free, that means it is accessible to all members of the society. It promotes collaboration, that means school works with rather than against all other individuals, and it promotes equality. That means it is democratic in nature where all members have got equal rights and duties. So, these are the you can say these are the four pillars on which inclusive education is standing as far as a school goes. Now, what are the plan of action? The plan of action can be seen in three different, you can say it's a kind of on three different pillars: access, participation and support. Now, access would mean accessing, or the institution or the school or education has to be accessible in terms of learning opportunities and environment. Participation would mean ensuring participation for all students, and support would mean at systematic level infrastructural and all kinds of educational support. These are the challenges before us. Now we need to ensure ki in what different ways or modalities are available to a school to adopt the principles of inclusion. Now there are many options, and different people have tried to explain the different ways in which inclusion can be adopted in different ways. There is a cascade given by Deno in 1970, and you can have a look at this cascade. It's a kind of a narrowing cascade. On the top, it is general education inclusive class, where all children, irrespective of their abilities, backgrounds, etc., they sit in one class throughout the day. Then we have the general education class and resource class. That means all children are there generally in one class, but at some points of time, some children, based on their specific needs and requirements, they are pulled out of this general class and they are put in a separate resource class. Then the next level is full time self-contained class. That means some children although they are going to the same school, but they are not sitting in the same class with other children. They are sitting in a separate section which is meant specifically for them. Though this does not come under inclusion, it is more of integrative practices. Then on the next level we have special schools, where children with special needs are not going to the same school where other children are going. They are going to a school which is only taking care of children with special needs, and this is not inclusion at all. This is kind of exclusion. And homebound, that means no education is being given to children with special needs, and they are sitting at home only with maybe some educational practices going on at home, or maybe without any kind of educational practices going on. Now generally we can divide different types of educational provisions into all of these different categories. The first one is inclusive education instruction all day in a fully inclusive class, that is total inclusion, in which all children, irrespective of all their abilities or capabilities or backgrounds, they are in the class, same class throughout the day. On this next level we have general education class with some in class special education assistance. That means some children who may require little more assistance as compared to other children, they are there in the class throughout the day, but yes, some special assistance is given within the class. For example, say somebody who is deaf or is having hearing problems, sign language therapist is there with the student in the class, and the sign language person is communicating with the child then and there in the class. Whatever the teacher is saying, the sign language person is translating everything in sign language to the student so that he or she can understand things. Third level is general education along with the resource room. That means children are sitting in the general class throughout, but some specific points of time they are pulled out of this class and they go to a resource center for additional instructional benefits. Then the next level is part-time in special class and part-time in ordinary class. So it explains that children's time in the school, they are divided into two types. Half of the time they are sitting with the normal class, and half of the time they are spending in a special class in order to take care of their special needs. Then the next level is special education classroom in a normal school. So, or normal or a regular school. So this is a scenario in which all children are going to the same school or a regular school, but children with special needs, they have a special section and they are sitting in that special section throughout the day. So this is not actually inclusion in its true sense, it is basically integration, and I am sure you must have discussed about, or you must have already learnt about the differences between inclusion and integrative practices. This is integration actually. On the next level then we have part-time in special school and part-time in the normal general school. So children are dividing their time between the general school and the special school. So they are going to two different kinds of schools in order to meet their requirements. Then we have full-time placement in a special school, which does not come under the inclusion at all. And in these days and times we can say that it is meant, or this particular options, they are meant for profound cases, who are children who are not at all capable of coping up in a regular school. Next level is instruction in a residential setting, where only children with special needs are there. And the next option is homebound or hospital instruction, children who cannot move on their own, children who cannot get up on their own, or who are not in a position to take care of their basic bodily needs, etc. They are either homebound or they are in hospitals, and wherever they are, education is being provided to them there. Now, what are the different modalities which are available in order to implement inclusive practices? The question arises, given all these different kinds of children are there, diverse learners are there in our classroom, how do teachers cope up? Generally, it is said that teaching is becoming a very, very challenging task, and teachers, this is the generally quotation, or not in quotes, I would like to quote, teachers would say that when we are not able to take care of the general normal students, how can you expect us to take care of students with special needs? So the thing is, there are various options, and if a teachers they develop a positive attitude, there are so many things which can be done within the class. The only thing is let your or keep your options open, keep your minds open, keep the teachers need to keep a very healthy attitude towards inclusive practices. So when we are talking of modalities, there are basically three modalities we will be talking about: accommodations, modifications and interventions. Now we will be discussing in detail about all of these three modalities, that is accommodation, modification and intervention. Accommodation. Now what do you mean by accommodation? Accommodation is like you are accommodating people with diverse needs. So they are alterations in the way tasks are presented which allow children with special needs to compete or complete the same assignment as other children. Some of the examples are, say for example, seating of children. A child who has got some eyesight problem, his or her seating may be made so that the child is able to see clearly on what is written on the board, or a child with say ADHD is made to sit in a position where he is not in a position to disturb others, or a child say with ASD, that is autism spectrum disorder, is made to sit where there is minimum of disturbance and there is minimum of outside noises coming in, keeping in mind the requirements of the children, of course, giving instruction in small sequential steps which should be beneficial to all students, allowing for verbal responses in case of students who may have difficulty in writing due to various reasons, can be some form of locomotor disability or maybe some form of learning disability, allowing allotted time for tests or assignments or extending the time. So that means giving some extra time to children who may require more time, say again children with learning disabilities may require more time to accomplish a certain task, using varied instructional methods and materials. So generally it is said that a multimedia approach works better for children irrespective of their abilities. So trying to have approaches or making use of as many sense organs as possible so that it caters to the requirements of all children. Use of assistive devices. These days with the advent of technology, there are many assistive devices which are available. We will be discussing about those assistive devices also in the subsequent sections. Accommodation for inclusion basically works at 4 levels: content, process, product and learning environment. Content is whatever content that we are doing, the teacher based on the kind of learners which she has in our classroom can decide how the content is to be presented and how the content is to be broken into different parts, and the different modalities of presenting the content that needs to be worked out. Processes, the process by way of which the students are working and the content is presented to the students, it can vary or it should be varied according as per the needs of the students. Product is how the students are presenting the final product of products of learning. So they can also vary. If it is a written thing, students, if most of the students are doing written assignment or written some work, some students for whom written things may be a difficult thing, they may be accommodated for in some other way of presentation of their final product of learning. And the learning environment, the environment, the overall environment of the school, the overall environment of the class which does not only include the infrastructural environment, it also includes the human and the human touch which is there. So what kind of environment is built up in the class, that is very, very important. So accommodations are basically worked on these different levels. We must always remember that inclusion works when teachers believe that all children can learn. At times teachers start with the assumption that okay, such and such child, whatsoever I may do, is not capable of learning anything. This kind of an attitude can be very detrimental for the learning of any child. So the thing is, all teachers need to believe that all students have the capability to learn. The pace may vary, but yes, each and every student has this capability of learning things, and it is the responsibility of the teachers to ensure that learning happens. Now we come to modifications. Now what are modifications? Modifications is when we are modifying the basic content or modifying the basic instructional strategies in order to accommodate the needs of different diverse learners. Modification is the change in the course of study, standards and tests that provide access for a student with disability to participate. So, we are talking of changing assignments, modifying the curriculum, providing alternative activities, computer assisted instructions or computer assisted testing, etc. Now, when we are talking of modification, there is a very important concept which comes under it, that is the individualized educational plans, IEP. Now, what are individualized educational plans? They are basically separate plans or individual plans drawn out for each and every student who has been diagnosed with certain specific conditions, and the educators and the psychiatrists or the psychologists feel that the student may not be in a position to complete the entire curriculum. So a special curriculum is chalked out for each of these students, which include a differentiated curriculum, differentiated instruction and differentiated assessments. So all of these things are done on a differentiated level. That means now what is differentiated curriculum? Differentiated curriculum is the out of the entire curriculum which is there for learners at that stage, certain specific portions are picked out. Those portions which are considered to be more pertinent for children or which are more important for the children in their future learning, or those portions which are very crucial for them or they are considered to be a part of their learning skills. Say for example, children, we make the students learn number of things. We make the students learn how many different countries are there, what are their capitals, what are their languages, how do their flags look like. Now a child who has got some kind of say intellectual deficiency, is it really important for the child or all the children to remember all the 160, 70 or 180 countries which are there, remember all of their capitals, remember all of their languages or the flags? So the curriculum is toned down. The curriculum is toned down to a level where the child will learn only those things which are extremely important for the child to carry on in his or her future, you can say future life. Differentiated instruction is when during the courses or when the teacher is teaching is trying to take care of number of different strategies, say for example cooperative and collaborative learning, in which the students are working together in groups and the teacher is more in a position to pay more individualized attention to children who may require some special attention. So these are many of the instructional strategies are there which we are going to be discussing in the next section. So differentiated instruction is there to take care of the needs of children. We have collaborative and cooperative learning, we have the buddy system, we have the peer tutoring and many others. Then we have differentiated assessments. That means when we are talking of that, we cannot have the same curriculum for all children, we cannot have the same instructional strategies for all children. Why should we be having same assessments for all children? So assessments should also be adaptive. That means children who are not in a position to take on the entire curriculum, their curriculum is different, so their assessments would also vary. Children who find it difficult to write down answers, they may be assessed in a different manner. Children who find it difficult to say you can say verbalize or speak things may be asked to write down things. So these are some of the modifications which are there. These days we also talk of the computerized testing, in which the computer adjusts the level of assessments according to the level of the learners. So I mean, if out of a sample of different questions or questions are there, the computer will decide depending upon, or computer can decide depending upon the level of the learners. So learners with very high level of achievement may be having a very different kind of a test. Learners of average may have a different kind of a test, and learners who are low on their achievements, somebody with intellectual deficiency or they are slow learners, they may have a different kind of a test. Now specialists may argue or debate that it is not advisable, but at the school level when we are talking of say differentiated assessments, we also talk of assessments based on the level of students. So this is these are, and there is also a concept known as ipsative assessments. That means trying to see, we are not comparing students with each other, we are not comparing students to even some set standards, that is the criterion referenced. We are comparing the students to their own self, what progress they have made over the past, you can say past teaching learning activities, and how much they have accomplished in the past period. So this is basically differentiated assessments. Now let us try to think, discuss differentiated instruction for diverse learners. So that is providing multiple assignments with each unit tailored for tailored for students of different levels of achievement, allowing students to choose with teachers guidance ways to learn and how to demonstrate. That means students can decide, permitting the students to opt out of material they already know and progressing at a much faster pace. Say if there are you can say gifted learners in the classroom, structuring class assignments so that they require high levels of critical thinking but permit a range of responses. That means it has to be challenging, but yes, have to be diverse ways. Having high expectations from all students and creating learning centers with activities geared towards different learning styles, readiness and levels of interest. Now, there is another very pertinent topic, that is the minimum levels of learning. When we are saying differentiated curriculum, that means we are toning down the curriculum, but does that mean that we need to be satisfied with whatever the child does? No. It means that if we are chalking or we are basically toning down the curriculum, we need to ensure that the child needs to learn certain specific things or certain minimum levels of learning, and which this child needs to attain at a mastery level. So, minimum levels of learning are certain portions of the curriculum earmarked for children with special needs, keeping in mind their requirements and their level. And learning objectives are framed specially for them. Children with special needs are required to master those minimum levels of learning, and we please try to understand that differentiated curriculum, differentiated assessment, they are meant for specific students, or individualized educational plans are meant for one learner. It is not, say if there are two learners with autism in a class, both of them may be at very different levels. So one individualized educational plan may work for one student, but it may not work for the other student. So each student may be required to have a separate educational plan, and each student may have minimum levels of learning or of his or her own. Now we talk of the interventions, what interventions or remediations are required. Now, intervention is a specific skill building strategy implemented to improve target skills and make the students achieve. It focuses on teaching desirable skills and behavior. So, we are pinpointingly, we are trying to work on certain, building up certain skills in the students which may be deficient. For example, teaching phonological awareness through phoneme isolation in case of children with dyslexia, working on communication skills in children with autism, word drills to teach sight word recognition for children who have learning disabilities like dyslexia, teaching perspective taking through role play in ASD. ASD is autism spectrum disorder, modeling metacognition in intellectual deficiency students, multisensory techniques in autism spectrum disorders, intellectual deficiency and learning difficulties, and remedial teaching in intellectual deficiency, slow learners, etc. So, these are the different interventions which are required for each of these different cases, and students these things really help the students in their individual difficulties. It also includes counseling children and their parents to accept and deal with the problems or difficulties, and because it is very difficult for any parent to come to terms with this fact that his or her child is having some specific difficulties, and teachers and counselors have to be very proactive in that. And many a times it so happens that many of these difficulties, say learning disabilities, are discovered in the school. The parent may not get to know before the child starts going to school. Counseling and sensitizing other children is also very important, and which can be done through games, stories, role plays, collaborative and cooperative activities. Now, this was all about the accommodation, modification and interventions. Now, we also need to talk about the gifted children and how do we nurture them. Gifted children also, it's not that they don't have any issues and concern, and when we are talking of gifted children, we are talking of very highly intelligent and highly creative or talented students. So they also require specific interventions like acceleration, enrichment, sophistication and novelty. So if the thing is ki if we do not recognize their special talents, they will not be able to nurture them. So we need to understand as teachers that the teacher or the students who are gifted, they also require nurturance. They are if a student is creative, if no enrichment is given to that student, if no exposure is given to that student, that giftedness may just lie latent, it may never surface. Now we have come to an end of this particular section. Let us try to check your progress. I would want that you should try to answer these questions. What is inclusion and inclusive education? What are the various forms in which inclusive practices can be adopted? Critically analyze your own school, the school in which you have studied, or maybe your your brothers or sisters have studied. Do you think your school has followed inclusive practices? If yes, in what manner? If no, in what ways you think things were lacking? Did you have any students whom you think had some kind of any specific requirement? Briefly explain the concept of modification, accommodation and interventions for inclusive education. What modifications, accommodations and interventions would you recommend for your own school? Now keeping your own school in mind and keeping in mind the different kinds of learners which you had when you were in the school, try to come out with a plan ki what different kinds of accommodations, modifications, interventions could have helped your school. Thank you so much.